if you're the New York Knicks and you have a chance to get Donovan Mitchell, do you put RJ Barrett into the trade? Are you comfortable getting rid of RJ Barrett if you receive Donovan Mitchell? Now, we're going to say this, right? Hypothetically, that's the only way this works, okay? I know that there was the trade the other day of 6 first-round picks. That's just not feasible for
3 role players.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just not feasible. So the only way that you really make it out of here with an even trade is RJ Barrett is in the trade for Donovan Mitchell. Ray, you go first. Do you do it?
Personally, I don't. And I'll start with this reason. We've had RJ Barrett has been in the league now for 2 years, right? He started to come into that. He's that clutch player, their go-to guy. Now you have a guy in Jalen Brunson coming in. You're finally giving him a piece that you think is going to help them in the Knicks, right? They think that he's going to come in and be beneficial to RJ and to this team. Why not give him a shot and say, hey, this is your team this year. We're going to let it rock, see how it plays out. And if it doesn't work, then we'll start to look elsewhere. Because RJ hasn't had a team, like look at Donovan Mitchell's team, right? He's had all the pieces. He's had O'Neal, he's had Ingles, he's had Gobert, he's had a veteran point guard.
He's had Jordan Clarkson, he's had Mike Conley, he's had Bojan Bogdanovic, so, he's had everybody and their cousin.
Exactly. So he's had a team built around him to win. RJ hasn't had that for him yet. And what's the ceiling that we've come to see with the Utah Jazz over the past couple seasons? Donovan Mitchell becomes an all-star, but he's that 23 to 25 points per game guy. He's going to get you to the playoffs.
Which isn't bad.
No, we're not saying it's bad, but we're saying that we haven't seen RJ's ceiling. I personally feel like we've seen Donovan Mitchell's ceiling at this point in his career. And not to say that he can't get better. I'm saying at the point where I don't think he's going to go further than a first or second round. I don't know if he'll ever even make an NBA Finals
by himself.
In his career. Yes,
by himself. As the best player on the team.
As the best player on the team, I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is going to be able to take a team over the top and make them a better team. And we just haven't seen that with RJ yet. So why not at least give him a year with a team that you just spent $100 million on a guy, right, to bring him in that you think he's going to change the culture. Why not at least give them a shot first?
I'll say this. I'll say this to start, right? When I look at RJ Barrett and I look at Donovan Mitchell, there's one thing that sticks out to me like a sore thumb, right? And that's the defense. RJ Barrett, right, is a guy for the Knicks that will guard the best player on the other team and do a pretty good job, right? If you're the Knicks and you're playing the Celtics, guess who RJ's guarding? Jason Tatum. If you're the Knicks and you're playing the Lakers, guess who RJ's guarding? LeBron James. If you're the Knicks and you're playing the Nets, guess who he's guarding? Kevin Durant, right? If you're it just so happens that Donovan Mitchell is a shooting guard. I don't think he's as good at on-ball defense, at perimeter defense. I think just RJ Barrett, like we've already seen that he can get the ball in the bucket, right? But I think it's the fact that he could turn into like a Paul George. Like, he has that potential. If he can just shot create a little bit more, right? He plays a lot of off ball. If he can come in this season and he has that extra step where he can take you on an ISO, dude, like, we may not even be having this conversation in a year. We'd be saying, why did we even think about Donovan Mitchell and RJ Barrett? Like, I think RJ's better. Like, not right now, but I think the ceiling of where he can go is way higher. Like, I will agree with you on that, Ray. We've seen the peak of Donovan Mitchell. Like, I think he can transform, but I don't think he can get, like, better.
I don't think
I want him to get better. Like, listen, I'm not sitting here saying like Donovan Mitchell's not bad. He's a top 20 player in the NBA. Right?
Yeah, and arguably top 15. But that's where I think he's gonna sit around his whole career. It's the same thing with like Damian Lillard, right? That's another guy I would kind of compare him to. I think Dame is more clutch. But as a guy who is the solo guy on your team, who's the number one player, who's going to bring somebody else in, a guy underneath Damian Lillard, do you think that that's another guy that could go to the finals with the team leading them by himself?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Dame go to the Western Conference Finals with C.J. McCollum,
right? But that's their
yeah.
And I think
that was peak Portland Trailblazers,
and I think Dame is better for playoff bound than Donovan Mitchell. So that's why I think that they were able to reach it further, right? I don't know if Donovan really ever had like a number two, but I mean, the way that Jordan Clarkson's been playing the past couple of years has been, scoring the basketball wise has been something that you can just relate to off the bench. A 6-man like that comes off, gives you that scoring threat, is just a different. He's been a different breed. So I get where some people are coming from saying, "Oh, he hasn't had a number two. Oh, he hasn't had this." If he's the best player on the team, you're only going to get worse from him, right? So what do you do? Bring in another top 20 guy, another top 25 guy?
I'll stand by RJ. Like, I will. I think he's really good. I think he's only gotten better, right? Like, Donovan came out the gates good. Like, we were like, whoa, fuck, SPIDA's like good. Like, everybody like started just saying SPIDA right away. Like, 3 weeks into the season, this dude's dropping 30 points a game, right? And it's January, and you're like, wow, fuck, like this dude's nice. But when you set the bar that high to start, how do you like? You either stay at that bar or you turn into an elite guy, like elite. Like, we're talking Luka level, right? He didn't do that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, you add Donovan Mitchell onto this basketball team with Brunson and RJ, that's a good basketball team. You find a way to keep those three together, oh shit! Like, we're talking the rent. Like, we could be going to a great New York Knicks team.
Yeah,
right?
especially I would say even in like 2 to 3 years. I don't know if it'll be great
100%.
right away, but I think
they could be. I think they could be a top 4 seed in the East if Mitchell, RJ, and Brunson were all playing on the same team.
In
together.
3 to 5 years, I agree. But
You said 3 to 5 years?
Yes. I don't think right away. I think they
could be right there.
I think that they need time because Jalen Brunson was in such a different system, right? And I think about the team that really gave him his bag. The Utah Jazz. The first round, when I literally sat there and I said, if we don't have Luka Doncic, we are going to get swept by the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Because I believe that much in Donovan Mitchell to go out, show out against a team that was depleted, that didn't know how to play without Luka. We haven't seen that team. They looked almost I don't want to say better, but they played better team basketball without him. Like, we look like the fucking Kawhi Leonard Spurs out there with Tony Parker and Manu running around, and we had Dorian Finney-Smith. It's like, what am I watching right now? Like, Jalen Brunson was dropping 34 and 37 on these guys' heads. And then what happens? He slows down. Luka comes back. He still gets he still was doing his thing, right? He was still having 18, 20 points. Like you said, I think he averaged around 24 or something along those lines. But obviously when he came back, it was a different game that he had to play. He had to basically play in 2 different offenses. So now moving over to a Knicks system, we need to just see a change overall. And like I said, I think with the Knicks, it's more than just meets the eye. I think it's more than just the players that they have in place. It comes from the top. It comes from the system that they've tried to build and the system that they're trying to put in and trying to be old school and stuff like that. Like, we're not there anymore. We run small basketball, we shoot threes, and we run in transition. That's what teams, you look at the Golden State Warriors, you look at the Boston Celtics, those are the 2 teams that stand out to you and say, okay, how did they make the finals last year? And those are the things that they were great at.